We are glad to see you again on our channel. And today we're watching a movie where a group of men who survived a plane crash in Alaska are trapped in the cold and a pack of wolves. A film is about survival and fortitude. John Atway, the protagonist, walks through the remote drilling rig where he works. Most of the former prisoners work there. John is a former sniper, a hunter. He was hired by an oil company to protect the drillers from wild predators. He walks into a local bar where a bunch of people are fighting, drinks, remembers his wife, who died. He misses her a lot and suffers from the loss. John leaves the bar. At home, he writes a letter explaining why this happened and that he has no reason to live. He says, "You're gone, and I can't bring you back. I'm moving like a dead man rising from the grave, knowing that I'm constantly waiting for something. I feel that I am responsible for what happened. I have stopped bringing good into the world." He goes outside and tries to shoot himself with his rifle, but, pointing the weapon in his mouth, hears the wolf howl. John takes his fingers off the trigger. The next day, John, along with other drillers, gets on a plane. Airport officials say that the weather is bad and they need to leave quickly. John puts his bag on the shelf and takes his place. He takes out the letter and reads it. On the plane, John meets a guy named Flannery, who sits next to him. John tells him that he does not want to talk and sits down on the chair, napping. The guys are discussing why the plane is shaking. Someone says it's turbulence. Some guy laughs and thinks, what will happen if they fall? He tells others not to put their heads between their knees if they fall, because it breaks spines. He says he saw it on TV. The others want him to shut up. After a while, people in the cabin begin to feel the cold air, see the ice on the windows. The plane shakes very much. It gets into a zone of turbulence. John lies on his chair, fastened with a seatbelt, puts on an oxygen mask. Around is panic. The plane is carried away in a storm, and then it falls. The plane crashes in the vast forests of Alaska, in the middle of the snow. There is nothing around. John wakes up in the snow. He's all shivering from the cold. He has snow on his face and clothes. He gets up and goes to the wreckage of the plane, on the way helping other survivors. John finds his backpack, puts on a hat. Together with others, they go inside the plane, or rather, where there is something left. One of the boys is quite ill. He is bleeding. John calms him down, telling him that he is dying and asking him to think about the good things. The guy says he's thinking about his daughter, who's 6 years old, and he is losing his life. John counts that there are only 7 survivors. The guys say that the one who spoke about turbulence jinxed them. He says that he is not responsible for the crash. John immediately takes the lead and says that they need to build a fire. He explains that there may be no help, and in order to survive, they need to warm up, find food, and at dawn, start walking. Some guys immediately lose hope and panic. Others do not believe in what is happening. They begin to collect among the debris everything that can be set on fire: clothes, chairs, wood, etc. They manage to build a fire and at least get warm. At night, John is attacked by a wolf. It bites a man's leg. John jokes that he can now turn into a werewolf. One of the guys gets scared and asks if they exist. John suggests that the plane crashed near the lair of a large pack of wolves whose hunting radius is 30 meters. One of the guys asks why John is such an expert on wolves.
They paid me to kill those things, to keep them from killing you.
And he replies that he is a hunter. John says that wolves hunt humans too. He explains that wolves smell blood and know that they are wounded. John says they should move the bodies and then find food. One guy tries to take the wallet of someone who died, but John prevents him from doing so, saying that he will not allow to descend to looting. John says that he can't stand this type of people. Guys discuss that there is enough alcohol to drink twice more. They sit in front of the fire and eat meat. At this time, John sees wolves very close. He commands everyone to stand up, take the torch, and they approach the wolves almost directly. John tells no one to move and look the animals straight in the eye. After a while, the wolves retreat. John says that they need to watch for 2 hours. He will start, and then someone will change. At night, the wolf attacks one of the people while the others sleep. The animal tortures the man and deprives him of life. The next morning, John and the others see the body of the deceased. John says that they can try to fight back the animals, but they have nowhere to hide. Otherwise, the animals will just come after them because people are a threat, a danger to them. He then notices the forest in the distance and claims that there will be a chance to hide and fend off the pack so that the wolves think they are leaving. One of the guys is mad and constantly complains. He disagrees with John, but he says to take everything necessary and move towards the forest. He says the wolves have marked their territory here and they can't wait.
We're pissed all over this place. They mean to take it. We can't wait them out. We'll starve.
John explains that there is an open space between them and the forest, and if they get there, they have a chance to defend themselves. Everyone is going. John pours into the thermos a little gasoline from the plane. He also says to collect the wallets of the dead for their families. John pulls out his rifle, takes the cartridges. Before leaving, they say goodbye to the bodies of their comrades. Lord, save their souls. They were our friends, and we could be in their place. They start going towards the trees, one after the other, through the blizzard, but the snow is very deep, so they move slowly. On the way, one of the guys who goes at the very end is bitten by 3 wolves. The survivors are no longer sure that it is right to go to the trees, but John convinces them of a chance to save themselves. The guys ask how they know that they are no longer surrounded by animals. Approaching the forest, they see that the wolves are running on them. John tells everyone to run into the woods, and they run in the deep snow. 5 of them have time to run behind the trees, make a fire. John says that the roar that was heard was roaring the alpha male of the pack. The wolves attacked him, but the leader stopped their defiance. The guys ask what to do now, on what John says that now they will try to exterminate the wolves one by one, as they exterminate them. John gives everyone a stick and cartridge and explains the design that they need tape and paper, cartridge. The tip will pierce the capsule cartridge and it will shoot. They have to stick it together. Then they have to let the wolf close and stick a stick at him, then the cartridge will work like a firecracker and the sharp tip will help them fight back with a stick. One of the guys says that everything is useless and does not believe that they will survive. He laughs and says that now they will play Indians. He says that they will last 2 to 3 days because they are in the ass. John asks if he is scared, tells him not to talk nonsense and not to play the brave. The guy says he is not afraid, to which John replies that fear is normal. He admits that he is terribly afraid, and the guy is just ridicules and rude. John notes that rudeness is a sign of fear. The guy is almost ready to fight John, stands with a knife in his hand. John dazzles him with sparks from the fire and pushes him to the ground, sits on top. He tells the guy to finish the scam when suddenly they see the wolf very close, the alpha male. He comes close and just looks at the men, then leaves. The guy who fought with John asks what this wolf wants. John replies that him. Everyone relaxes, but a few minutes later, one of the guys who was not afraid of anything is violently attacked by a wolf, but not that black, but gray. Everyone fends off the wolf and manages to take its life. John says that they need to fry and eat it. Also, the man claims that this wolf is Omega, an outcast, and wolves decided to test the guy. There is a wolf howling.
It's an Omega, an outcast. They sent it in to test you, DS.
They pierce the dead wolf's body with a sharp stick, hang it over the fire and fry it, then eat it. The guys are talking that the meat isn't tasty at all, but there may not be any other food, so they have to eat. One of the guys cuts off the wolf's head and throws it into the woods. There is a wolf's howl everywhere, and John says they need to move on. They gather their belongings and go deep into the forest. In another place, they make a fire again and make a camp. John says it's a dead end, so the wolves won't be able to come up from behind, but they'll come up from the front. Guys talking about faith and the afterlife. One of the men says he's thinking about why they survived the crash. Maybe it was written in their nature. Another says it can be just luck. It's an example of those guys who survived but died later. He also says they're not exactly in paradise. They're just nowhere to be found. John says he believes in what's real, the cold and a pack of wolves nearby. He also says he's scared in this world, not that. Then one of the guys tells about his daughter. He shares that she comes up to Dad when he sleeps and tickles his face with her hair. The second says that he would like to spend time with a girl and remembers that the last girl he had was clearly not very and would not like to die with such memories. John recalls his father and his poetry. He says that his father was cold and heartless, a drunkard, never cried, and never showed much affection, but loved writing. John thinks that perhaps poetry made him kinder, making amends for his guilt. And on the wall in a frame, he had a line of a poem that he wrote himself. I will rush into a fight worthy of a fight, the last on my face. Live and die today. Live and die today.
Once more into the fray. To the last good fight I'll ever know. Live and die on this day. Live and die on this day.
John says there's a storm. During it, they lose one of their men. John tries to wake him up, but nothing works. The man was already injured and felt ill. When the storm stops, they notice that they are on the edge of the cliff of the mountain gorge, and somewhere below, they can hear the river. John says it's either wolves or trees. He suggests jumping off a cliff and fixing a rope on the trees there, and then crossing it on the other side. They tie the clothes together and form a rope. One of the guys jumps to the other side and fixes the end of the rope on the tree. Everyone in turn starts to move to the other side. One guy says that he is afraid of height, so he will go the last. He starts to climb, his glasses fall, his leg clings to the rope, the wound on his arm starts bleeding. He fails to move, falls down, and the wolves drag him away. John and the other two boys reach the river and start walking along it, hoping to find a place to live. One of the guys hurt his leg badly. He's having trouble walking. He sits down and says he'll stay by the river, won't go any further. He says that it is not less than a mile, and he will not even walk 10 meters. He gives up, says that he has no strength. He asks John if it is true that death will come over as a wave, and if it is warm. The second guy offers to carry him, but he refuses. He says he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to go back to drilling all day. He doesn't want to get drunk all night long. He claims that all the beauty around is for him, and nothing can be better. John and the other guy say goodbye to him and keep walking. The guy talks to John and asks where he left the bar with a gun that night. The guy says he thought he would never see John again. He explains that the guy who stayed had the same look as John that night. John says it doesn't matter now. They keep going, but suddenly 2 wolves run out on them. John tells the guy to run. He runs, but falls into the river. He is blown by the current, and his leg gets stuck between the rocks under the water. John tries to help him, but he does not hold his breath and dies. John loses his strength and faith in God and stops in a nearby grove. He takes out the wallets of all the dead, looks at the photos, puts them in the snow. Then he looks around and realizes that he has climbed right into the wolf's den, to that very den. The wolves surround him from all sides, but they are interrupted by the roar of the pack leader. John sees before his eyes the face of his wife, who tells him nothing to be afraid. The wolf slowly comes. John ties 3 small bottles of broken necks to his left hand and takes a knife to his right hand. He reads aloud a line from a poem written by his father, "Live and die today."
Once more into the fray. To the last good fight I'll ever know. Live and die on this day. Live and die
John attacks the wolf. After the credits, a 3-second scene shows a dying alpha male wolf and John lying on his back. This is the American film, The Gray, in the genres of thriller, drama, adventure. The director and screenwriter is Joe Carnahan.